Good morning and welcome to AVA. I'll be your host and your presenter this morning. My name is Nicole Morris, and thank you all for joining us. We have quite a few people coming in. Today, we're going to talk about AutoCAD Electrical and how you can actually share the custom content. Several of you are already doing that, but I have some processes that I've kind of come up with, and we can talk about that. I'll go ahead and get going on this. First, we're going to explore the options that you have with AutoCAD Electrical for setting up a shared environment. And then we'll actually show you, I'll show you a way I would set it up. And then we'll talk a little bit about the environment file and some options that you can do there. We'll talk about the reference files and how those can be valuable, and then some next steps and some announcements, of course. So let's go ahead and get started. So AutoCAD Electrical, it has quite a bit that comes with the program. It's got a very large library that is out of the box, just as is. So thousands and thousands of symbols and manufacturing catalog data. But almost every company has some things that are unique to their company, even some things that they built or some things that they ordered that's not in there. So they're having to add to this custom content. That is part of, just part of the workflow. And it's one of the areas where I feel electrical really excels, is because it is so customizable. But you want to be able to share that content and have others take advantage of it. So if I add things to the catalog, I want my other users to be able to get that. So that's really what we're talking about here. So not just catalog, but custom symbols and other data as well. And we'll go over what that data is. But first, let's talk about kind of the setup here. So there's a couple different scenarios that I came up with. You do have the option when you install it, there's a check mark box that will just automatically share everything. I'm not a big fan of that. And the reason why is because troubleshooting or changing your mind later, you have part of the installation on the network and part of it local, and it's a little bit confusing that way. So what I do is I do out of the box installs, and then I set it up one of these three ways. Okay, so the network option, let's just kind of visit that one. Okay, benefits, it's probably the most simple one. You have one central location that everything is being checked in. Some of the challenges is that you can have performance issues if you're working across a server that's slow. Also, people this year have been working remotely more than ever, right? Over VPN, and that's going to be slow. And so we've actually found people where you go to launch and you can't even get to your content because it's so slow. Then we've also seen some people that clash when they're editing. So this can work, and it has worked in the past, but it's probably not the best. Okay, so the second option here is a synced option. It's very similar to having a network option. So you still have that single source of information on your server, but then you sync it to a local copy of that. Okay, and everybody would sync that. So what the benefit of there is that all your files will be localized. So now you don't have to go across a network to get all your content, and it'll make your program work a lot faster. You can also take this offline. So let's say you have to go out into the field, or your network's down, or for some reason you can't access the VPN. You have everything you need on your computer. Okay, so, and the other benefit is that if you want, you can use the default location. So it's just less work to set up, I think. The challenge is, of course, is that you want to remember to sync the local copies. You can do this through a sync tool. Some sync tools, they're usually going to be third-party tools. One of them is, I found one from Microsoft called SyncToy. It's pretty easy to do. And that you can even schedule in the Microsoft scheduling task scheduler so that it runs periodically. Most of the time, once you're done customizing, you really, within your team, you would just send an email that says, hey, all hit the sync button or something like that, because it's not going to be every day. So that's a choice within your company. So just deciding how often you're going to sync and what you're going to sync and whatnot. So using that sync tool, finding which one. So Sync Toy, and there's another one called Sync Back by Two Bright Sparks that I like. Both free and pretty easy to use. And there's many more, and you might have one within your IT group that is good. Some people will even set up, the IT will even set up a script that makes it all happen in the background so that the users never have to deal with that. Okay. So that's one of the options, and we're going to go with a hybrid between the network and the sync today. But either way, I think you'll understand what's going on. So finally, the last one is the Vault. And so those of you guys who use Vault will like this option, but you can put your files in there. And there's a couple ways that you can do that. Benefit also, your files will be local, again, just like the synced option, but you'll be getting it from the Vault. So your synced version will be getting from the Vault. It will require that people, manually add files to the Vault, and you'll need to notify your team when to get the files and update their local copy in their workspace. And then they'll also need to check in and out those custom files to edit them. Okay, so that's a little bit of a workflow add on the back that some people are okay with. If you're really experienced with the software, it's not a problem. But if you're new to it or you do it rarely, it can be a bit of a challenge. So I do recommend, again, maybe if you're going with the Vault, that you have us help you with that. And we'll talk about that later. Okay, so creating shared content. So I'm going to visit how I would do each of these, and then I'll show you some examples. First, in AutoCAD Electrical uses My Documents, and then within there's an AutoCAD 2021 folder. Let me see if I forgot to mention that if you have any questions, you can put it in the Q&A panel. There's a question and answer panel. Okay, so just be sure to ask questions along the way and make me stay on track here. So AutoCAD Electrical, or AutoCAD 2021, in my Docs folder, I take that folder and I copy it to where I'm going to go. Now for a networked location, I want to make sure that it's got read-write permissions. Okay, and that's it. So that's the startup of it. For a synced version, you can copy it to like your C:\/ AutoCAD 2021 or whatever version it is. You can copy it just to the C, or you could leave it where it is. And that's one of the things I like about the synced option, is that you can actually leave them in the My Docs location, and then you don't have to redirect it anywhere. So that's kind of nice. The Vault option, of course, you're going to copy it into your Vault workspace just one time. Just one user is going to do this, by the way, not everybody. We'll talk about how the other users point later. So we're going to copy the files into the Vault workspace, and then you'll have to add them to the Vault manually. Okay, I'm probably not going to show this one because it gets a little bit more than what we have time for today. But I'm going to show these other ones, and I think you'll understand how it goes there. Okay, so after you've, let's go ahead and do this part, and then we'll skip to the next. Okay, so I'm going to open up AutoCAD Electrical, and right now, if you just out of the box install your software and you right click on the first project that's in there. By the way, in order to do that, you have to have a drawing open in the background. So AutoCAD or AutoCAD Electrical won't do anything without having a drawing open. So just start a new drawing from scratch and leave it in the back. I'm going to right click the current project and go to settings. Settings is going to be our key, and this is going to tell us where we are. Right now, it is using the out of the box location for that environment. If you are going to be using the synced one, you could leave it there. Okay. But for mine, I took a copy. Yeah. I took a copy and put it right under my C. Let's just pretend this says your H drive or something, so that you actually have your a folder that's a read-write folder elsewhere. And I'm really after this file here. So this WD-ENV file is the brains of AutoCAD Electrical, and it is in that folder. So I copied it from my docs and I placed it in here. So we want to change where our program is pointing to this file. Now, again, if you're going to leave them alone, you don't need to do this next step. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to redirect to be pointing to this new location. I've already copied it, and now I'm going to redirect. To do that, I'm going to right click on my command line, go to options, and I'm going to add two paths. If I expand the support file search path, I can go to add, and I'm going to browse to wherever that is. All right, so maybe that's a network drive. Okay, and that's actually going to be CAE data. So that's the folder that that environment file is in. I'm going to add another path, and this one is to the PLC database. It's underneath the AE data folder in the ENUS, that's our language, and the PLC. The PLC, for some reason, is the only one that doesn't get picked up with our environment file. I don't know why, but it just doesn't. So we do that one manually, but it's pretty easy. So I'm going to take this one, move it all the way up to the top. And this one all the way up to the top. And before you ask, no, you can't go down, go to the top. Okay, so all the way to the top. So these two are the topmost. The way AutoCAD and AutoCAD Electrical work is the first one it finds wins. So as long as it first looks here, it's going to find what I'm putting out. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. Now, in order to get it to read anything having to do with the paths, you have to close and reopen the software. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to go to the old location. Oops, and I'm going to rename it. By renaming it, it won't find it when it opens the program. Yeah, it will eventually. Still closing probably. Come on, behave yourself. I think I just need to wait a minute. Okay. Okay, wait just a second. Okay, now it went. I don't know why, but so it renamed itself. It needs a minute after it closes so that it's not still reading it. But now I'm going to launch my AutoCAD Electrical again. Now this process is the same for all of the older versions as well. So this is not a new thing, but it's just I just have 2021 installed here. Okay. And it's helpful to have a project, like a test project that you can use. So I'm going to open a project from my new location. There are some sample projects in there that I just leave in there. It's just nice to have them when you're trying to look at how it's supposed to work, or if you're doing some troubleshooting. There you go. Okay. So I'm going to right click the project and I'll go to settings, and I'm checking my work right here. So this third line here says now I'm getting my environment from this new moved location. So if you're using a sync tool, this C drive location could be where I'm syncing to. But if you're going to bother with the sync tool, you might as well just sync it to the My Docs. But it depends on the sync tool you have, on whether you can specify. Because those of you guys who know about My Documents, let me pull this over. The My Documents folder actually has the user's name in there. So the path won't be the same for everything. Let me see. So it's actually technically in users, your user, and then documents. So it's actually technically got the user's name in there. And so it's not the exact same path, okay? So if you're using your sync tool, you might have a problem with that. And it's a little easier to do it this way. So it's just another option for you. Okay. So now that I'm pointing to that main location, I can make changes in that main location. That could either be the network one or my synced one, whatever you decide. But any changes that I make there will automatically affect my program. Okay, so right now, by default, without doing anything, without doing anything, it's going to go to this third one here, and the catalog automatically gets taken care of. Another one is the PLC tool, the PLC parametric. You'll see that it automatically picked up this new location. Okay, that was that extra path that we added. Okay, so far that's all we've done. I'm going to go ahead and close the program, and we're going to go to that folder. Okay, so in the AE data folder, I'm going to go ahead and open up this environment file. So to edit the environment file is simply a text file. And we're going to go ahead. Oh, we do have a question here. Hang on. How did you get to the options menu? To the options menu, you just simply right click the command line and go to options, or you can even just type options. I'm going to go ahead and right click here on this program and go to edit with Notepad++. You can also use regular Notepad, but don't use Word. Yeah, just use a dumb text editor to keep it from getting extra data on it. Okay, so this looks like a little bit of an eye chart. So I'm going to go through real quickly and explain what you're looking at here. Okay, so at the top of this is all comments, right? Anywhere you see a star is all comments. This is just explaining that if I use these variables anywhere, this is going to be my program files folder. And this is going to be my documents and settings folder. This will be where my environment is located. This is what I'm going to use for everything. And I'll tell you why in a minute. This is where my out-of-the-box symbol library is going to be. On that note, I don't usually share the out-of-the-box symbol library. I recommend that you just leave that at the base install and then just share the stuff that's common. Okay, so we're not changing anything on this top. We're also not changing anything on this user temp folder. You cannot share this with other users. It will break the program. So don't do that, please. So this user, we leave that alone. But this section, we're gonna change. And I've already done this just to save time because this is a shorter session. So go ahead and here. So the first one is where it's looking for schematic symbols. And you can actually see over on the right-hand side that it's giving a description of what each thing is. Okay, all the way on the right. Okay, so this first path is right here. I've actually added a new folder in my same look. This guy right here says, where is your, let's see if I can open it at the same time. There we go. So this is the custom library in the AE data folder. So I put a new folder called custom library and I added that path here with a semicolon. But I left the symbol library, actually this should be NFPA. So I'm going to make a change. It had the JIC and I'm going to change this to NFPA. So now my symbol libraries are also coming from my public docs in the out-of-the-box location. Then you have your pneumatic, P&ID, and hydraulic menus on there as well. But I'm just adding this one. Now I'm going to add this one to some of these other lines as well. Okay, so the panel menu where you're looking up your panel symbols will also have it. And if you wanted a separate one for your panel, you could create a new folder. I just dump it all in the same folder. Benefits is, you're giving them naming conventions, and so it'll make them fall together in the folder. So it's okay to just dump them all in the same place. So when you insert a circuit, you can make it go to that folder. When you insert a footprint, it can go to that folder. And I'll show this in the program once we're up in there, but I wanted to get through this. Insert circuit dialog box, insert block dialog box, and user circuit. So all of these are going to default to this location. So if you're creating new symbols, it's going to automatically default into there. Okay. The catalog was already taken care of. You saw that it automatically went to the WDIR with the language and the catalog. So it automatically did that. Now, the benefit of using this WDIR, if I decide to move this location, all I have to do is change where those paths are pointing. And once it's pointing to that environment file, it'll pick up the rest of this. It really makes this simple. Okay. So you could also point to your project directory. Like if it's outside of that folder, you could point to a different place for your projects, like your Vault workspace or something like that. You could point to pick project. Now, if you don't do that, doesn't mean you can't work in there. Okay, so you don't have to do this. You don't have to do any of this, by the way. Okay, one of the things I like, and you have to remove the stars in front of them to use those lines, by the way. This open dialog, this is just a command where when you open a file, it will automatically zoom extents. This will automatically happen for all who are using this environment. Coming down, a couple other things here. Your report files, again, remove the star, and that one will be now an actual line, and you can actually put that direct. I like to put my reports in the same folder as my catalogs. In this particular case, I also created new menus. So these menus I'm pointing to as well. And I'm going to show you all of that now. So I did this in advance just to keep this quick. One thing that I did do here was the symbol libraries. So the symbol libraries is a little bit of a challenge. So what happens is there's only one location for symbol libraries. So if you override this and you actually are using this line, you need to put all images. So even for menus and all of the little dialog boxes, all those little images that are in there need to be in that folder. So you have to go find them and put them in there. I've created a resource folder for 2021 that I just unzip anytime I do this, and I'm happy to share that. I'll share that probably on my blog post, but you just unzip it and then that will be in there. So, but I'll show you that in a minute. Anyway, that's about it. So it's a lot of information, but once you go through it and you just pick it apart, that will be helpful. And then again, like I said, I have a blog post that I'm going to put out next week that will be, we'll have all this and have that reference file as well. Okay, so I made a couple little changes, so I'm going to save it. And now all I have to do is reopen the software and we'll go ahead and do some checking. Okay. We're waiting. Any more questions? Good. Okay. 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 I'm getting an error message because I got rid of these files, so bear with me. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so if I look at my settings, I'll see that my environment files here, my catalogs here, and all of these now have locations of where they're looking for files. Yeah, Dean, thank you for the question. We're going to post this recording, and I'm also going to have this on a blog post. So it will be in written form, and I will also have that resource so you can just unzip it. Okay, so to make it easier for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to talk about where you're looking for these files, right? If I go to the icon menu, for example, see, I'm missing all the images. I got to fix that. So this is good that you guys are seeing me having to fix it. I did get the images in here. Oh, I think I actually put them in too far of a, there you go. I put them too far, one level too deep, I think. Bear with me. Yep, see the images are back. I just had them in the wrong folder, my fault. Okay, so the images is one of the things is if you don't have them in the right place or correct, or they're not all there, when you go to things like drawing properties, you're going to be missing all these guys too. So just a note, it's not a big deal. We'll just get them from the right place and good to go. The images come from your program files, and they also come from your user roaming, app data roaming. So I just collected them for you so you don't have to do that. Okay, so when you are working on a component, let's see, if I'm going to the icon menu and I go to insert something, if you go to browse, it will automatically go to that custom library to find whatever you've put in there. Same thing on the panel side. When you go to browse, that will be there. When you create a new custom symbol builder, when you create a new custom symbol, and I'm just going to drag one little thing here, and then I'm going to close this, and you'll see that it automatically is defaulting to that custom library, and it's also defaulting to this images location. So it just kind of makes sure that you're, when you are creating this content, it's automatically going to the place that is being either synced or shared. Okay. Let's go ahead and say no here. You might have noticed that the templates are not pointing to a shared location. That's okay. If you have templates that you've made and you put them in your custom place, then this will show to your custom. It's just that I don't have any, and so it didn't pick that up. Okay, so basically all of those paths were something like that. So when I build a symbol or when I build a custom content or something like that. Also my icon, oh, one more thing I wanted to point out, and if I went back to my PowerPoint, I would have remembered this. Okay, so we check it in the project settings. But one more thing we need to do here, these are all the things that I just changed. I use the WDR path. And if you need to move that quickly, all you do is redirect to where the WD is found, and then set a way to get updates. So you have to sync. So let's say you had it shared on a network and you have to go off site, or your network goes down, your VPN goes down. If you can get a copy of that, set it locally, and then go to options and your support file search path and point those paths to that local directory, everything will work. So that's the benefit of this WDIR. Okay, these are just some of the things that we just changed. So all of that very quickly we just changed. Okay. By the way, this usually takes me a couple hours to do for somebody. It's not as quick as a half hour, but I've already done it and I just wanted to kind of walk you through it. So this is really important. There are 4 sections that have to be updated on your project. So for each project, it is maintaining the paths that it had, it is saved in a text file for that project. So you have to update it every time you make a change to the environment for these 4 things: where the schematic libraries are, where the menu is, where the panel libraries are, and where the panel menu is. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. This is real important. So I'm going to right click the schematic library. Here, I'll show you an example. If I'm looking for whatever block name, it gives you this big list. And those of you guys who've used electrical probably seen this list. Basically what this is a list of where it's looking in the order that it's looking. So it's first looking in my user folder, which is that your own sandbox. It's looking in the project. Then it starts to look in the support in the project for its paths. Right now, it's not looking in the right place for my custom folder. And then it starts to look in the support file search path. We added AE data, we added PLC, and on and on. Okay, this is all of the AutoCAD ones. So it's not finding my symbols. If I right click my project, right click my project, that's not my project. There you go. Right click project, go to properties this time, and set the default. It changes to the custom library. It adds that to the path. It changes these to look at the symbol library directory. And by the way, it doesn't include the version. So that means next year, you don't have to do anything with these. You won't have to update these. So keep that in mind. So anyway, schematic library is coming from this. I created my own menu in there. Okay. And the panel library and the panel menu. So just these 4 sections, you highlight them, hit default. That pulls the information from the environment file. And now I'm done. So now when it's looking for a symbol, it's looking, stop it. Okay. Now when it's looking for a symbol, it's very unhappy with me. Okay. Okay, so when it looks for a symbol, it is looking in that path. If you look in the settings again, you'll see this bottom half is where is the order that it's actually searching. So this is the search path. And again, AutoCAD Electrical, the first one it finds wins. So that's, you want to make sure it's in the higher folders. If I edit something out of the box, like let's say I edit the line number block and I want to make it look different, I want to put a box around it or do something to it, I would actually leave it the same name, but put this block in my custom folder so that it finds it there before it finds it in my regular library. Okay, so just a little tip on that. Okay, so after you update the environment file, be sure to update these 4 if you've made any changes on just these 4. The rest of them automatically take effect, so you don't have to do that. Changing paths, you have to close and reopen the software, but otherwise everything's good. One last little topic here is there are several shared or several text documents that are reference documents that allow you to create common ways of doing things, like common component descriptions, locations and installations, and ratings, etc. So all of these are also, I put them in the same folder with the environment file. Okay, thanks, Claudio. So anyway, okay, so I put those also in that same folder in my AE data folder, and just so that they are available to all my people. And 5 of these are actually in a component dialog box. So those of you guys are fairly new to electrical, if you right click on any component, you'll see that this defaults here. See how it's coming from my shared location? This is the defaults for your descriptions. the defaults for your ratings, the defaults for your location, your installation. Those are all in here. And then your color gauge labels and your source and destination descriptions. So those are the files that are there. Also included in there is the descriptions here for the, editing these values over here. Instead of saying line 1, line 2, line 3, it will actually give a description for the dialog box and the title block mapping. Title block mapping will probably be another AVA down the road. So if those of you guys who are interested in that, let me know, and we'll make sure and do that soon. Okay, let's get back to business here. Okay, I want to keep this on my time frame, so let me just go ahead and talk about next steps. So determine which way you want to go with the vault. Happy to talk to you about that if you want. Experiment during downtime. You can't hurt it, really, honestly. Just make a copy of it and experiment on your offline copy. If you do the shared environment one, be sure you have a backup, because now everybody's working on a live copy. But there's an AutoCAD Electrical reset. So if you decide to reset it to factory defaults, let me see if I can show that here. In AutoCAD Electrical here, there's a reset to default settings. This is a really nice tool, and if you reset it to out of the box defaults, then you're back to where you started. It'll recreate that My Docs and everything. So you can't hurt it. So it's worth it to experiment. Let's go ahead and go back to this. One more. Okay, so if you decide that you need help with this is a lot of information, but those of you guys who are more experienced, you might be able to pick it up from that. Some of you guys have already seen me do it with you. We do this as a service. We call it mentoring/training. And if it usually takes me about 2 hours, 1 hour to 2 hours, because I'm explaining things as I go and kind of helping you so that you understand how it's set up and you can make changes during the year. But also during that time, we could set up your title block and we can do some other things, just helping you guys along and kind of figuring out where you are on that. So mentoring and training, it's available in half-day increments. So if you wanted a full day or a couple days of mentoring and training, we can do that. Streamline and Lifeline, if you have Streamline or Lifeline, you can just call us and I'll help you with that. So I will do a blog post next week, so be sure to check that out. And since you came to this session, we'll probably email you about that so that you'll have it. So good. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm sure this was an eye chart and a data dump for you guys, but it is recorded. And also, like I said, I'll be doing a blog post that'll be a little slower paced and have a lot of this information in there. So look forward to hearing from you, and you guys all have a happy holidays. Okay, bye-bye.